Yeah, Mr. Parker, firstly, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast, which is called CFOs Not Talking Finance. So we're trying to do something different where we try and understand a little more about your ideologies, about the cornerstone principles based on which you live your life and you have moved through your career all these years, right? So we have a few fun icebreakers to get you started. Firstly, you've had an illustrious career in finance, of course, but what is one job that you think you would absolutely fail at?
Good one. Okay, it's more of a googly. Okay, what I failed at. Okay, I think when I was become from a person, I become a finance and shared operation head. Okay, that's the time I first time realized that being a finance person, you are actually try to get verification from the other stakeholders in the company saying that what you should be spending compared to what is the efficiency. Okay, so when I was handling in 2007 the both role of finance head and the shared operation head, I realized you cannot do justice to the both jobs, because one job says don't allow to spend money, the second job says spend money and become more efficient.
And become
Okay,
efficient.
yeah,
Yeah.
so sometimes finance guy do suffer this because he do not know, should I spend $1 where I'm not able to see a revenue today, or should I? So that's a one job which I never did it properly. So ultimately, I decided that let me move to shared operation, bring more efficiencies to the company. Okay, my team was ready to take up the next level as a company CFO, so he allowed and moved to shared operation head.
Got it. Got it. So, in terms of the earlier role that you mentioned, just one quick question. Which was the side of you that won out? The one that wanted to control costs or the one that was looking after efficiency?
It is always cutting cost because see, by the when you close your eyes and think something, being a finance person, being a cost or chartered accountant, you always think of a how to save money and earn more for the company. Okay,
Right.
efficiencies, you think, oh, should it be efficient way? I think the way it is continue, let it be. If there is a 1 day delay in reaching shipment, it doesn't matter. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
that's how the finance, and that's why I decided that I should leave the finance job and move to a operation role which gives you more efficiency, and in long term it can win the match.
Wonderful. Okay. That makes sense, actually. And now a similar kind of question, but if you were not a CFO,
Hmm.
what would your dream job be? And this has to be unrelated to finance or numbers.
Okay, so yes, it's a very good question. I always love to give back society. Okay, so if I think that what should I do which is different, okay, I should be somewhere the CSR head of a company. Okay, and think what's best we can do for our society. Okay, we spend a lot of money in the Namki around business, which sometimes is a social activity, but sometimes it doesn't actually gives the benefit. So let me give you an example. In publishing, every 3 years or 4 years, and I'm talking about more from a school publishing business. Publisher, what they do is they publish books, print books. Okay, after 4 or 5 years, the syllabus change. When I was
Right.
a shared operation role, what I did is somebody says, can you give me 500 copies? I say 500. I can give you 1 lakh copies. Okay, and ultimately, as a Pearson, we donated 20 lakh copies from India to people, and the salespeople always say, hey, if you donate, then it will go back to the students who are actually my customer. So we given it to a society, and who gave books to Eastern UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and in a early morning on a Sunday, I got a picture from them saying these are the books, and they are the first time they never touch a book. They've got a new book. Okay,
Wow.
so that's the activity which I still love. Okay, I still feel that CSR is a good activity if you can actually do it properly and not spend on something like which may not be more productive. So you should do something which is productive on that, and do it from the company's resource, which can be sometimes be wasted because nobody is looking at that. Okay, yeah.
So when you got that picture of the students holding the book for the first time, you must have been very overjoyed, right?
Yes, I absolutely, to be very frank, I do not know what to do actually. Should I jump? Okay, because in the morning I just open and I see this People World Education have donated so much book, and every student looks very happy. Okay, with our
Um,
books. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, that's a different kind of satisfaction. So I think that's
yeah,
something you want to
mm,
pursue if
yes,
not a CFO.
yeah, correct.
Okay, got it. All right. And any other unusual hidden talents or hobbies that you have which your colleagues might not know about?
Okay, so I I always love reading books or getting information uh, from Google it off. Okay, because that's the only way to find new things. Okay, being lucky to work for a company, Pearson and Penguin. Okay, and that time a lot of new technologies author have written books. Okay, so what I generally do is I read books. It may be a strategy, it may be operations, and then try to implement some of them in my business.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Okay, because like strategy actually came after I passed out my ICW in 1985. It didn't comes to India. I know that
Right.
I am used to studied few years back, but in 2000 when I was doing the shared operation and we actually implemented what I got taught in a Duke University. Okay, that how strategy can be actually implemented in a way. Okay, yes, we all do strategy without understanding where all the strategies is nitty and gritty, but it is sometimes these things you can actually applied in a business and get results. Okay, you will say that IM graduates or MBA graduates are doing it on a regular basis, but for a old generation, for me it was a very satisfying moment.
Wonderful. So the next question has to do with, your personal interests and, your journey so far. So
Hmm.
other than, philanthropy, we also know that,
Hmm.
you run a Bengali bookshop. But
Hmm.
can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah, I see. I am in a publishing for more than around now 35, 36 years. Okay, so and being working in a publishing company, you know most of the good authors, what sells well and what doesn't sell well. Okay, and what type of books. But when I actually 5 years back when I got this opportunity of running a bookshop, okay, on a weekend because Saturday from Monday to Friday somebody else did, and interacting with the customer. Customer comes sometimes. This is a Bengali bookshop, and Bengalis love to read books.
That's
Okay,
right.
so when you come to bookshop compared to when you go to Amazon, in Amazon you try to look for a product which you know
Which you
and
want. Yeah.
you want. Okay, here what you do is while speaking to them, you said, okay, oh, you might love this. Okay, so when somebody comes and says, okay, I want a book on a wooden architecture or something like that, then I suggested 4 or 5 other books. If people are talking about history, I suggest some similar type of books. Okay, people come and says, do you have a detective series? So I sometimes, and there are Bengali detectives like Kiriti. People say, do you have a Kiriti? I said, no, we have our own detectives like Feluda and Bomkesh and others. Okay, that's where I
Right,
love that.
right.
And I do not, end of the day, I do not count what money I earn. What I actually, when spending Saturday and Sunday, I think that that's my most leisurely time spent, okay, activity. Okay.
Yeah, no, I know you love to talk about books. I
Mhm.
think the last time that we also met
Mhm.
in Delhi, you were, giving me advice about, which book to pick up next. So I think for you, running a bookshop is perfect because firstly, it's about, your passion, which is books, and secondly, you love speaking to people. So I feel the more people that come into the bookstore, the more opinions you can share with them, and you can probably give them the right guidance on which their next, book should be. So,
Yes.
and of course, you get to talk about Bengali culture and, our, the lot of homegrown authors that we have as well, which probably don't get highlighted, like you said, rightfully so, in a place like Amazon, where you only go to buy the book that you want to buy. You don't really have which is why, traditional bookstores always have their own charm.
Yes.
So you
Correct.
spend every weekend, is it there?
Yeah, I spend there in a weekends.
Wonderful. Okay. So actually, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever gotten from a book which has had a lot of impact on you?
Okay. So I think what it generally, if you read books and especially Bengali books, okay, you learn something to be empathic to a people. Okay,
Mhm.
which as a finance person every day you're telling, hey, I've not received the money, you've not paid me, you're spending too much, and then you go and read this type of good books which are spiritual, and so it gives you something, refresh your mind and says, hey, am I chasing the real thing or am I chasing an unreal thing? So
Yeah.
that's what it sometimes the books gives you. Okay,
Hmm.
and you learn a lot about things. You learn about that, the how Greek people come into India, and not only it affect North India, the South Indian side. So books actually gives you more knowledge about people, culture, and ultimately it's a time of, books is also a leisure. Okay,
Yeah.
see that how you want to spend your time in front of sitting with a TV, or you want to spend time in a front. When I say TV now, please extend it to a mobile, reels, Facebook,
Correct.
social
Yeah.
media, versus you want to spend on something which you may enjoy in a long term. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Correct. In fact, these days that's so disheartening to see a lot of young kids. They spend just as much time glued to their TVs and their mobiles as we did growing up, but in books, right? So I think that's another thing where they're disassociating, but with different kind of material.
Absolutely, you're right. And not only that, one more factor is that you are now spending more time on these social media even during the work time.
Yeah,
So
correct.
you tell somebody that you want to find out a new thing or about a tax, he will go and look at the website and not read. So you do not know he's reading a 3-year-old article or a 5-year-old articles. Clauses has changed. Previously we used to open an income tax act
Yeah,
or the necessary act and used to read that. Today people are saying, or chat GPT has sometimes makes much more difficult. So sometimes informations which comes through, okay, are not latest one or not has been interpreted by people correctly.
that's right. But sometimes, Dipankar, do you feel a little envious in terms of the, convenience of AI that, students these days and young professionals these days have access to, which, probably you didn't have access to, and I certainly didn't have access to as a student. You had to pore over the taxman books, and, you had to try and find the right clause and the right section to be able to tell you how to treat a particular expense, whether it's a deductible or not. But now, with the convenience of say Chat GPT or Gemini, with all of these tools, students are just able to kind of post their query and get a ready-made spoon-fed response. Of course, there is a big disadvantage to it. They don't understand how to parse through the right facts on their own and how to derive the right answer. And they're relying on a lot of spoon-fed material. But do you think the convenience kind of outweighs the cons of this?
Absolutely. Today you can actually, if your prompt is proper, then you get a right answer. If your
Hmm.
prompt is not proper, so even I'm also trying to learn the prompt properly, okay, because that gives you such a more informations, okay. But only thing is that you have to make sure that your questions are correct, what you are asking for, okay.
Right.
That's very important. Yes, they are
Hmm.
in advantage position, as I do that time when I was 90s. I'm talking about 90s when computer came, then the Lotus and the Excel. Everything makes our life much smoother than what previously 10 years back. So today people are doing much better than what we used to do it. Okay. A lot of people understand graphics better than what as accountant, I will never prepare and report on a graphic and says, okay, my
Yeah.
expenses this and my so, but people are doing it, and simple people are learning that. Okay, it's become very convenient. It's only thing is you know how to use it and how to get the right information.
Correct. Correct. Got
Yeah.
it. That makes sense. Now, Deepaka, more in terms of your professional life outside of finance, what is a skill or a discipline that you have probably mastered over the years, uh, while being, a senior finance leader, which has nothing to do with numbers of finance, so to speak. What is that one discipline or that one habit that you have cultivated which has helped you with climbing the ladder?
I think two things I will tell you. One is definitely taking help of a technology. Okay, especially ERP, you tell, okay, which can help you in analyzing the data faster.
Mhm.
Okay. And the second thing which I always feel is in past when I was working with NTT, okay, another telecom company, what I get is I started negotiating. They says, okay, you buy purchases for our lab materials, okay, and some of the lab materials are as expensive as 15 crore,
Mhm.
okay. First, you need to understand because nobody will give you the information how many people are manufacturing it. Okay, so if you take a help of technology, okay, then you understand, okay, who is the company, what is their market, and then go back and start negotiating again. So in a telecom industry, you will be surprised that some of the products are sold at 93% discount. Okay, and some of the products are also sold at 97%, which means that you are actually buying a product for 4% or 3%, but its AMC is 10%.
Right.
Okay, and you need to balance that. So negotiation is a one skill which I think because of my technology and because I understand how to get data from the Google and other things, okay,
Hmm.
and look at it and then compare it and says, okay, when you're talking to another person or a regional head and you talk about his company with more information because you have read his annual reports, you've read his company's presentation somewhere, it gives you a very good advantage.
Right.
Okay, so these are technologies are one thing which I think always have helped me in progressing my career.
Right. What that also sounds like is that you're very resourceful, I think.
No, it's not about the resourceful. It is about the mindfulness, how to get the information properly for your work. Okay. So if I have to look at your company and says what your company do, I can Google it. Then I see it. Who are your competition? Okay.
Right.
Or who are doing similar activities, and then go and negotiate rate with you or make a scope of work. I still remember I was trying to buy um, HRMS for my Philippines company. So I was asking everybody to give me what are the things. Then I said, okay, they are saying, okay, it should do payroll. I says, what about other compliances? And they're not able to tell. Then I Google it, create some full, and then I send it to my HR person and the regional director. He says, hey, that's what we require, a local knowledge. I says, and everybody says, hey, local knowledge came from India. Okay. So that's, I think, is a power of information.
Wonderful. Mr. Dibankar, next we'd like to talk about your management style in terms of how you handle your team. We do know one thing about you is that you're very detail oriented. So the question is, how do you balance that? How do you balance being detail oriented, but still giving a free hand to your team and not micromanaging? Because to be very honest, that's something that I struggle with. While I am a big fan of, letting the team, either succeed on their own and also take the fall when they don't probably succeed, and give them all due credit when they do well. But at the same time, because I'm so focused on getting all the details right, it becomes a little difficult. So how do you balance that? How do you balance giving them a free hand but at the same time making sure you're responsible for the output?
Uh, for me, it's a very simple thing. I should do, if I have to suppose give somebody to create a report on a daily basis or monthly basis, I will sit down and do it for 1 or 2 times with myself and do what if analysis.
Mm,
That what data can go wrong in this. And
right.
once I feel that it's a give you the perfectness, it is making sense, the result, what is the result coming is making sense, then I give it to my team and says you can now run it. Okay,
Hmm.
and they sometimes come up with their own instructions or guidance and say, sir, can we do this, and this gives this result. I says, okay, fine, and look at the report. When they come up with the report, first few times, it is always better to check their report before giving it to somebody and who can
Right.
come and blast that guy, okay, because of his lack of knowledge or less information he shared with the person whom the report is required. Because sometimes marketing or sales people says we want this, and
Yeah.
tell them that this cannot be generated. Okay, not everything can be divided by a customer to get some results. So it is a give them the freedom. You don't come up in the morning and says today I want these 5 activities to be done.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't do that. I in the meanwhile I'll ask people, okay, what are you doing? And I know a timeline. Okay, it will take. Some people come and say, sir, I'll give you this report in 1 hour. I says you will not able to do it in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay, you will require 3 hours time. Okay, take the time, because even if I prepare the report, okay, I'll take so much time. If I take 2 hours, I will say, okay, take 3 hours. Make it sure that you checked everything and then show me the report. Okay, or saying that no, I want it in the next 15 minutes time, because I know if even if I sit down, I will not able to do that. Okay, then I give people the time. So I mix the freedom with Namki, looking at the controls and all those things, and then check myself that okay, is the result coming is true or not. Okay, and then tell people to interact with the manager directly once I feel that confident about somebody can deliver the product.
Right. So the principle essentially that you're saying is trust but verify.
Yeah.
Understood. Dipankar sir, if you could go back to your 25-year-old self
Hmm.
and give him some advice, what would that advice be?
25 years back, there's no chat GPT, there's no Gemini, there's nothing AI. Okay, if I sit back 25 years back, which is 2000, and says to my team member, I'll say, okay, let's do one thing. Let's see how AI can help in our organization for next 2 3 years. What skill set both you and I require to understand that. Okay, and based on that, okay, I know a lot of people are creating a lot of reports everywhere you see. Okay, and there are chances that yes, definitely those are faster, and learn the trick. First thing is learn the trick that how you can get the data much faster and analyze things better. Okay, if I have been put with the today's circumstances 25 years back in any organization, I'll say let's spend money or invest money on your staff on AI related products.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So you would want to pull them towards technology because
Yes,
now that you
absolutely.
know the
Yeah, yeah,
potential.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Correct.
25, I say 35 years back, we used to fight within the organization for having a computer. Okay. Today, computer is with everybody. Today, what is required to do is have the data analyzed properly and then come out with the results.
Hmm. Wonderful. Very interesting. What is the biggest misconception that you think people have about CFOs?
First misconcept is by everybody is, okay, they look at the CFOs as a blocker.
Mhm.
They always, you tell them a proposal, they will say, oh, this compliance has not been done, this is not being done, the process is not there. Okay, that's what people think. And what you need to do as a CFO, as Chitra, I see your role as a, because when we discuss, okay, what you are also doing is you are working with a lot of organizations where CFO is a bit of a junior person, and the organization want him or her to be trained to a CFO level. Okay.
Mhm.
So I will say one thing, go into detail of your business. What's the loopholes and where are the opportunities are there? Okay.
Hmm.
Look at the opportunities. Look at it. Is your organization doing well? Have trust on everybody. Keep a trust. First thing is you have to have a trust on everybody who is spending company's money. Okay. Including a sales guy, that he's been honest. Okay. He may not have the knowledge or level of intelligence what you are looking at when you are looking from a CFO point of view. Okay.
Right.
But he is also trying to maximize the sales, which even turn into a profit. Okay. He's also doing the similar job. Market is tough. So go and walk with him into the customers, meet customers, listen what people are saying. And my only one of the philosophy I used to say to my people who used to sit in an open office is keep your eyes and ears open and mouth shut. Okay, you don't tell people that "Arey, aap to galti kar rahe ho, you are making mistakes." Don't do that. Okay, listen and think. He might be doing it for some other purpose. He might be,
Easy.
yeah, some other reasons. Think, and then if you find that he's not doing properly, think before you talk to him, because he may be a senior person who may not like to be told by you that you
Yeah.
are doing wrong. So let's discuss that. Okay, and have a proper communication within my team. That's very important. Okay, keep a communication open, and so that people understand what you're trying to do, how you want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually great advice because in most companies, right, the finance team is always seen as a bit of a strict taskmaster, right? So people are generally afraid to approach the finance team because they're like, no, they want the data in a very particular format and in a very set format, and they're not going to give a lot of importance to, my data. So we've seen a lot of times where marketing and sales, those respective functions, their data doesn't tie up to each other, which is why
Mm.
they generally go to finance for getting the right data, and that's kind of where all the apprehensions come from. So this actually is a good segue into my next question. What is something that you have learned from other departments, kind of like marketing or sales, or business operations, or production, or since you've been in publishing, there are so many channel partners, there are so many authors that you speak to and that you learn from. So what is something that you've learned from these other functions outside of finance?
First and foremost is that everybody, whoever comes into your organization, either as an outsider or an insider, okay, which is your own team or a authors or a printer, brings lot of information, and you need to first find out that how to get the proper information for your business purpose. Listen
Mm-hmm.
very carefully without cutting him and say, okay, I know this. Okay, he might be telling you something which according to him may be correct. Okay,
Mm.
listen to
Yeah.
that properly, and then do research and make a connect. Build a bridge between you and him. It may be a marketing person, it may be a salesperson. He might be trying to tell you something, and then have faith on him. And then if you want to talk to him, even with if you're not the head of the finance or number two or number three position, have your data been properly validated by yourself, and then talk to the person.
Mm.
Okay, so don't challenge people who come up and says, okay, we can do these things very properly, or this can be done. Okay, people will, I know you and I, that they also spoke when we were sitting in a coffee shop, that people have different expectation when you implement ERP. Some
Yeah.
people come up with SAP and they say, oh, this was very easy in SAP, just enter a thing and all the data will come out. And you and I know it's no data come up that way. Okay,
Correct.
so if it is not been properly, data is not been captured, the data will not give you the things. So it is always very important for person to understand what is his requirement and what is possible. Okay,
Mm.
people might uh, give lot of people wants data, but they do not know how to, after getting data, even a sales and marketing, how to use that data. That's very important.
Right.
And authors or anybody, they talks about how they are doing business with other publishing house, or when you talk to printer, other your competition, what they are doing. So I still remember we used to, every year we used to have a meeting with HCL, who was our outsourced partners in a Pearson globally. For first 15 minutes, we used to tell us what's happening around the publishing world from your thing.
Oh,
They might
nice.
have, they give you a 20 or 30 list, and you then pick up, okay, this, acha, McGrail is doing this, HarperCollins is doing this. So, and choose what you think is others are doing, which you may not be doing it. You
Mm.
might be the biggest publisher, you might be the most knowledgeable people, but in that room, there are other small people who might have been doing much better thing, more efficient way, okay, and getting a better results.
So constantly understanding what your, what the other competitors are doing, how the landscape is evolving in the industry that you are present in, that frequent check-in is always important, is what you're saying.
Absolutely, absolutely. A lot of people are outsourcing now accounting functions to organization like you. Okay. And you bring so much to the table. Okay. Which even if they employ 3 people, they'll not get the information what Chitra can provide or what anybody else can provide. Because you are handling so many people. So is outsourcing a finance function or accounting function are two different things. Okay,
Right.
at your level, you are actually being trying to make a finance controller a CFO. Okay, that's a very important. It's very important that when we talk to people, we understand. When I was talking to you, what I also realized is that you bring lot to the table compared to if I hire a number 2 in my organization. If tomorrow I have to hire a number 2, I will go to you and say, Chitra, can your organization help me? Today we are talking about, again, we have outsourced our accounting function. So somebody was asking me, you want to change to in-house? I was just thinking of my professional accounting company comes up with a GST, TDS and all other information, which even if I tell my one person, he will not do so much research because he will be bogged down with all those things. So
Correct, correct.
sometimes these are the new things. These are the new things. These were not there previously. Okay.
Correct, correct. And a
Yeah.
lot of organizations are now coming to terms with the fact that having access to a pool of resources, shared resources, is probably more efficient than insourcing it and building the talent. Because, while it becomes a lot to manage, I think what you rightly pointed out in terms of the limited skill set
Hmm?
and already having a lot on their plate will obviously, cause a detrimental effect on the output that is expected from them.
Absolutely. See, you are managing and maybe 20 25 companies. Okay, between your 3 or 4 people team. Okay, I know that your organization is much bigger, but you are getting every day. You are getting some queries which your team member then look at and says, okay, let's do this. Okay, this may be the new things. This may be today implemented at anything called 250 crore companies implemented. Okay, can it be implemented for a smaller companies? Okay,
Yeah.
I may be clueless
Shared
about these
shared
things.
learnings as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
One. Thank you, Mr. Dipankar. Just two more final questions, which might be a little silly.
Huh?
But first one is, if you could solve any global problem
Hmm.
instantly with a flick of
Hmm.
your wand,
Hmm.
what problem would that be?
I think education.
Education.
I
Wonderful.
Yeah, because why I saying so?
I think that's
Today,
very poignant coming from you. Plus, because you're in Delhi, and I think being in Delhi, you have seen firsthand how reforming, the state of public education, what kind of effects it can have.
yes, absolutely. See, today India is in a stage where it is about to become third largest economy in the world.
Mhm.
Okay, I think one of the major factor is that because education has been provided, okay, people are now becoming more graduates. There are scope of employment is there. Okay, so that's if we can provide that, especially countries like Africa and Southeast Asia. Okay, South Asia. Okay, especially India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, these countries. I think lot can be improved.
Yeah, I think coming as someone who runs a bookshop and who has been a lifelong supporter of kids reading and upskilling themselves, and also obviously a stellar finance leader. I think that's a very good note to end this podcast on. Thank you so much, Mr. Dipankar, for taking the time. As always, you've been very gracious with sharing your knowledge, like you were the last time we met as well. So
Hmm.
thank you so much for taking out the time, and your answers have been wonderful.